We're going to study a sutta today. Very, very simple sutta. It's a very homely sutta. It's about a young man and his family, about parents. A sutta means thread. You know thread? When you talk online, especially you go Facebook or social media, you say you follow a thread. Thread, that means your chat, you follow one idea. Alright, so sutta also means thread. You know in Malay, sutra, sutra means silk actually, but the meaning changes a bit. So this thread, sutta, you can see the word there, sutta, I hope you can see it's a bit light, is Pali. Pali is a special language. It was a dialect before, but it became a sacred language. It's not a dead language. Some people say it's not dead. We are still using it, we are still chanting it, it's not dead. It's a sacred language. And it is especially used to preserve the Buddha's teaching, so that today, 2,500 years later, we are still able to study what the Buddha taught 2,500 years ago. That alone is amazing. I mean, there's so many books, Buddhism today, you find so many ideas, very confusing. But when you go back to the suttas, very clear, they tell you what to do, how to have peace of mind, and that's why we study the sutta. To live happy lives, to keep our body and speech disciplined, peaceful, so that our mind will be at peace with ourselves. That's why we study the sutta. There are many levels of sutta, very simple for daily life, then there are those for meditation, and there are those even deeper still. Right? So today is one of those very simple ones. In fact, this book I've passed around to you, Happiness Here and Hereafter, is a very simple book. It's very thin also. Right? These are all happy readings. Go back, you can read the first chapter 1 and 2 by yourself. There's a very simple sutta. The Buddha tells you how to make your family successful. Look for things which are lost, he said. Repair things when they are become old, things like that. Very mundane advice, So it's not difficult at all to study Buddhism. Depends what you want. Okay, you want to study deep teachings. There are lots of deep teachings. There are also simple teachings. The important thing is look for it in the sutta, and you find something interesting. How do we read suttas? No need to start from beginning to end if you are a beginner. Now, for me, I have to read from beginning to end because I got to teach you. For yourself, you just start where you feel happy, start there, and then you find something interesting, you go from there, and then you build up your practice. Remember, suttas are not like newspaper. Newspaper you read, you throw away, and you pile up, you sell up the papers. This is, my favorite comparison is like computer program. You run the program, and then you work on the program. That's one example. You got to run it, you got to make it work. Then number two, example is like beautiful music. These are classic works. In other words, people have been studying them for 2,500 years. Same sutta, different language on it. Pali has been there for 2,500 years. So this is why Pali is important. There are so many new languages. Indian languages, Sinhalese, Burmese, Thai, Cambodian, Laotian, English, German, and so on. They all translate Pali into their languages. So Pali preserves the original idea. That's why Pali is very important. Pali is simpler than Sanskrit, right? So this is a Pali sutta. It's a record, the earliest teachings of the Buddha. In other words, whatever teaching you want to know about Buddhism, you must come back to these teachings if you want to call yourself Buddhist. That's why these suttas are very important, right? So now the title of today's sutta is Sigalo Vada Sutta. It's a Pali name, don't worry. I will explain to you. Page 18, 1H. You can see at the top right hand corner the big word there, Sigalo Vada Sutta. So this is an important part for you to know what you are studying. This is where you look, okay? So this is named after a person. Sigala is the name of a young man. Sigala is actually refers to what you call this, a very clever animal in the forest. Okay, a jackal, like a fox. So the parents' name is the son Sigala. In fact, the son is the more famous than the parents. We don't know who the parents are. We only know the parents are called Sigala Mata. Anyone can guess what Sigala Mata means? Mata? Mother. Okay, it's Latin. Same as Latin. Latin also Mata means mother. And then the father is called Sigala Pita. Father. So that's all. So these are nicknames actually. So we don't know their real names. So very often in the sutta, a lot of people we don't know their real names. But the famous person is the son. O-wada means advice. See, wada means speech. The word O, the sound O means like talking down to the crowd, giving advice. O-wada means advice. Advice to Sigala. Okay, you either remember the name, Sigala Wada Sutta, or you can remember the number. Okay, every sutta has got an ID number, just like us, but sutta are very short. D31. Okay, D means Diga Nikaya, Diga means a long saying, Sutta 31. Okay. Alright, so the other thing you don't have to worry about that, those are for the scholars and researchers. There are lots of introduction notes here. See, I've been translating this for the last 15 years. Almost every day I translate something. And I've been doing this because I can tell you, I don't know why I'm doing this 15 years, almost every day I'm doing this. Obviously, you feel joyful doing this, and that's why we keep going, because it's something I've always wanted to do. Even when I was a young Buddhist, 15 years old Buddhist, very young Buddhist, I said, where do I learn original Buddhism? In the sutras. So here it is. So in a sense, for me, it's my dream come true. So we have like 8 pages of notes, right? This is for extra reading, for you to know. I will tell you how to use them later. By the way, I have a very common joke for this. If the sutras are difficult, you read them before you go to sleep. You're sure to fall asleep. And when you fall asleep, the last thing you read is the sutta. So you will remember it. And if you're happy, you sleep with the sutta. Alright? So don't feel bad about it. Don't say sutta is hard. It's got its purpose, it's got its use. So you have 2 books here. This is a simple book, and then this one is on A4 part. This is the difficult book. So I always tell people, you can't sleep, read this book. This one will help your insomnia. And at the same time, you also will learn some very deep things. Alright? So, look at page 27. The discourse on the advice to Sigala. Alright? Okay, the sutta starts with Ananda telling us that he heard this teaching from the Buddha. Thus have I heard. Can you see? Number 1, that's the paragraph number, thus have I heard. And then the sutta always start and tell us where the Buddha is at that time, right? So this gives us a location. The Indians are very good with locations. They'll tell you where the Buddha is, But they normally won't tell us exact time. Because why? The Dharma is timeless. When we study now, this is the time. The Buddha is with us. So you want to really see the Buddha? You study the sutras, right? But the Chinese are very good with time. They give you exact time to the minute even, and then they tell you the place. Okay, so there's a different cultural difference. So remember, sutta study is a living experience. When you study sutta now, the idea is to change your life will change. You become peaceful. We don't study Buddhism like watching some Korean soap opera to get excitement for a moment, and then you miss it, you want to watch some more. This is called samsaric addiction. The sutta the sutta is to help you see yourself. Okay? Now I'm not saying you are bad because you watch all those Korean shows. No. I'm just comparing. Okay? I have a lot of friends who watch those shows. They are my good friends. So what I'm telling them is, why do we enjoy all these things? Because we are happy when we watch all these things. That is why we do the smiling meditation, Because happiness is a habit. A lot of people think unhappy things, habitually, so they are unhappy. So here, when you tell yourself, I want to be happy, loving kindness, like what we did just now, and then you smile, you have to be happy. And then when you study the sutta, it further strengthens your happiness. That's what the sutta is about. Alright, so here we are told where the Buddha is. Let's look at this. second line says, at one time, again, at one time, that means any time, right now, when we are studying, the Buddha is there in our mind. We are watching this TV show, the Buddha is there, okay? The Blessed One, that's the Buddha, was staying in the squirrels' feeding ground in the bamboo grove near Rajgir. So this is a real place. Even today, there's a place called Rajgir in India. Of course, the name is different. The name is Hindi. Rajgir is in Pali. And then the Buddha, imagine, is living in the open air. The best thing I can think of here is like you go to Botanic Gardens, you see this beautiful, spacious place, lot of trees, nice shade, and then there's a little hut that we call it a kuti, the little hut, and the Buddha will live there. And there are squirrels all around. Can you imagine the Buddha is teaching, and the squirrel will come onto his shoulders, and the squirrels over the place. And the squirrels are protected there, and people come to feed the squirrels there. The Buddha lives there. Because no one else lives there, the monks live there in the open. Beautiful place. And this is in the bamboo grove. This is a bigger place. Bamboo grove was given by the king, Bimbisara, given to the monks to live in. So this is the place, very beautiful place. And then, imagine the camera now moves somewhere else. This time, it goes to the main character of our story. The Buddha is going to meet him. Now 1.2. At that time, right? Notice it again. At that time, that means around the same time as the Buddha was there. Sigala, the young house lord, having risen early in the morning and left Rajagaha, was with wet clothes and wet hair, and with lotus palms worshipping the different directions. That is, the east, the south, the west, the north, the neda, and the zenith. Neda means down, zenith means up. Okay. So here we have Sigala. He is doing his prayers, worshipping the 6 directions. Remember at the end of our meditation just now, we mentioned the 6 directions. But we mentioned it differently. We say front direction, right hand direction, back, left, below, above. Actually it's the same. Okay? Now this is something interesting, because if you look at the sutta begins with what direction? East, right? Notice it says the east, right? You got that, right? So now east in the Indian word is purba or purba. It also means front direction. Now this is something very interesting culturally, if you know culture of India and China. The Chinese had their compass, and the Chinese call their compass the south pointing needle, right? The needle points south, not north like our modern compass, because I don't know why, I'm sorry. I just know it points south. I think one possible explanation is, if you're in China, the north is very cold and snow, nobody wants to go north. South is where our ancestors came, Nanyang, all this South Sea. So south is a very wonderful place to go to, right? So, south pointing needle. So the Chinese had a compass, so they kind of have this idea of north-south. But you heard of the word orientate, right? Orientate, right? You heard orientation in university, but the real meaning of orientation means when they build a shrine in India, they must orientate the shrine. That means even in Thailand now, the main shrine, the Vihara, the Buddha image faces the east. See, the main Buddha image faces the east. Why east? That's how the Buddha sat when he got enlightened. And why did the Buddha sit facing the east? Face the rising sun. I mean, imagine if you sit meditating in the forest, very cold, So you want to sit facing the east, and when the sun rises in the morning, wow, very nice. The rays will shine on you, are very bright. You feel good. So this is the east. That's why the young man here, he is worshipping the east, front direction. Why do the Indians start with east as front direction? Because they got no compass. So how do they get their direction? They get up in the morning, they face the east. That's the east, the eastern direction. And then the right hand direction. What direction is that? South. And then the back direction is west. Left-hand direction is north. And then the nadir down below, and then the zenith up there, 6 direction. So this young man is praying to all the 6 direction. Now there's a story here, not mentioned in the sutta, this from the commentaries. Now why this young man is doing this? The story goes like this. See, this young man, his parents were stream winners. Stream winners means that they are saints, first stage, already on the first stage, going on the Eightfold Path. Father, mother are both stream winners. But the son not interested going to temple. Then parents say, go to temple. I say, oh, I don't want to go. You go there every time you see the monks, you got to give donations, you can't dress nicely, you got to sit on the floor. The son not interested. Right? So the father is very wise. Remember he's a stream winner, he's a saint. So he was passing away. So he left final instructions to the son. Notice the son is called young house lord. All these words have meaning, House lord. That means he's lord of the house. That means he owns a house. That's very important in the Buddha's time. That means you're rich. Of course, today it's very easy. Almost every adult can have a house in Singapore, but not in Buddha's time. So this young man is very lucky. He has a house, so he has to take charge of the house. So of course he has to listen to what his father's last instructions. So he's paying respect to the 6 directions. So the Buddha asked him, what are you doing? He said, well, my parents told me to do this. My father told me to do this when he passed away, just before he passed away, his last instructions. You see, the thing is this, the father is very clever. He has given the son a kind of delayed teaching, delayed instruction, you say. So because he knows, that's how he will get the son to meet the Buddha. Okay, so because the son is praying in the open air, the Buddha will come along and then see if the Buddha is always watching out for those who are ready, you see. And once they're ready, Buddha will come and teach, right? So the son is ready. God is now doing all his prayers. I think he also don't know why he's doing his prayers, so the Buddha is coming just at the right time. So imagine this very wonderful, poignant moment, we say, alright? Any questions so far? Okay. Alright, so let's see what happens next. Section 2. Then the Blessed One, having dressed himself in the morning and taking his robe and bow, entered Rajagaha for alms. Okay, now you got to imagine the place. The story move around, like a TV story. So now we go back to the temple, to the monastery, and the Buddha is dressing his robe, getting ready to go for alms round. This will be very early in the morning, maybe 4 or 5 a.m., maybe just before sunrise, but bright enough to go out. So the Buddha every day goes out for alms to collect food. Sometimes he may not get much food, but that's how these monks live, including the Buddha. Even the Buddha himself go for alms, collect food from the people early in the morning. So the Buddha goes out and he sees this young man praying to the 6 directions. And then look at 2.2. The Buddha asked him, young house lord, why do you, having risen early in the morning, why are you bowing down to the 6 directions? Why are you praying to the 6 directions? Okay? And then I'm going to summarize for you here. So the son replied and said, oh, my father, before he passed away, told me to do this. And then the Buddha asked him a very important question now. This is the turning point, 2.3. But young house lord, the 6 directions are not to be worshipped in this manner, in the noble one's discipline. So here the Buddha is very clear. Say, if you are really wise and clever, this is not the way you worship the 6 directions, Because he's worshipping, in those days they believe there are gods in all these directions, so they're worshipping all the gods. So the Buddha said, no, it's not very helpful, alright? So the Buddha now tells his young man, I'm going to tell you the real meaning of the 6 directions. Now, the 6 direction part is the 3rd part of our sutta. I decided more or less in my mind, I think we've got to divide the sutta into 3 parts, because it would be too long for one night. So that's the highlight of the sutta. What is the meaning of the 6 directions? It actually refers to the family, okay? But I will tell you the details later. So this young man, of course, very curious. Said, wow, real meaning of 6 directions. So he asked the Buddha, what do you mean? Tell me, please. Yeah? All right. So he's intelligent as a young man. He's alone. He's taking responsibility for the family. So he's ready. See? So the Buddha says, okay, in that case, listen, young house lord, pay close attention. I will speak. The Buddha always said this: get ready. Dharma transmission coming. Okay. So the young man says, yes, Bante. The Bante means sir, or Malay is Tuan. So the young man is ready. Now comes the teaching. The real teaching starts on the next page. Can you see the word summary on the top? Okay, now in this translation, what I've done is I put a lot of headers for you. So easy for you when you read. In many translations, you don't see all these headers, and everything is like come together. Here we arrange, we get a lot of space, so easy on the eye. So summary means this is the syllabus for the whole sutta. The sutta is very long, right? You can see the whole book. I mean the rest of the book. The summary is this: the Blessed One said this, young house lord, the noble disciple gives up the 4 defilements of conduct, 4 wrong ways of behavior, does no bad deeds out of the 4 motives. Okay, it gives up 4 motives, and then does not indulge in 6 ways of losing wealth. Okay, this is what Buddha is going to talk about. So then there's something else. Through avoiding these 14 bad ways, you total everything just as 14, he covers the 6 directions. So here the Buddha said, this is how you protect the 6 directions. I'm going to tell you how. Okay? So this is the syllabus. Okay, now we start learning, or rather the Buddha starts teaching us. First, it talks about the 4 kinds of wrong things we must really avoid if we want to be happy. Imagine this young man has a new house now, a new home. He wants to be happy. So the Buddha tells him there are 4 things you should not do. What are the 4 defilements of conduct? 4 wrong things that he has given up, you must give up. Young house lord, they are: number 1, the defilement of conduct, that is the harming of life. No killing. Very familiar already, right? Can you see the Pali word there? Panatipata. We recited this word earlier a while ago, right? Number 2, the defilement of conduct, that is the taking of the not given. Adinadana, stealing. Number 3, the defilement of conduct, that is sexual misconduct. Kame sumechachara. And then number 4, the defilement of conduct, that is the uttering of false speech. Musawada. These are the first 4 of the 5 precepts. Okay, some of you may ask, how come no 5th precept, right? Some of you may suddenly feel, oh, this is good when the Buddha didn't mention the 5th precept so I can drink. Not true, because later on there's a whole section on why drinking is wrong. Okay, so here what the Buddha is saying, these are the 4 normal ones which we must be mindful of. Now, why do these 4 things defile us? Why do they make us impure? Because why is killing wrong? When we kill, we are taking something which is not ours. We didn't create life, and life is a karmic flow of energy. So if you stop it unnaturally, no beings want to die. No beings want to pass away, right? They are afraid of death. So we have to let this being go through their life. Because all beings must finish the karma in this life, and then they are reborn, and then they progress slowly. And if they're given the happy opportunity, like us today, then we have a chance to grow, to become happy, to become peaceful, and then we build up our practice. We free ourselves from suffering. That's why we should not destroy life, because it's not ours. We didn't really create it. We just give the body to this being, to a baby, but then the baby has his or her own life. Okay? And life is very precious because, another way of putting it, our life is a journey towards awakening. And if we end this life, that means that it's diverted somewhere else. That means we will lengthen the suffering of this being, right? Even animals, especially animals, they don't want, they're afraid of human beings hurting them, killing them. So life is precious. It's the most important thing in the world. If you ask yourself, what's the most important thing that we have right now? Obviously, it's our life. Because without life, nothing else matters. So life is the most precious thing we have. That is why the first precept is reminding us not to kill. The next thing is, you must remember, the Buddha didn't say, thou shalt not kill. The wording is different, It's not a commandment. Because the Buddha knows, somehow our habit is, we still kill, mosquitoes, and especially mosquitoes, and all these bugs and so on, right? It's not something we enjoy. Buddhists must think twice, 10 times, And they meet all the famous monks, the question is, can I kill mosquitoes? And some of these monks are getting very upset about this kind of question. They call it mosquito questions, okay? That's because the Buddhists are so concerned about life, you see? Life is precious. That is why the first precept is about respecting life. Now the next question I must ask is, okay, we have life, but life alone, you can be a cat, dog, or even a little frog, but we are human beings. And to be humans, we must have food, clothing, shelter, health. And we need some kind of means to get all these things. We have to work. When we work, we have money, right? For us. So imagine if someone takes away all this wealth, how do we feel? We feel terrible. We work so hard for it, and then we suffer. So the rule is very simple here. If everybody is told, nobody will work. If nobody works, then there's no life. You cannot live. You start stealing. The Buddha tells a number of stories about this, When people have no money, they are poor, the kings don't help them, then they start stealing, and then society is chaotic. People get killed. So rule number 2 means you must have the means of supporting your life. You have life, now you must have the means of supporting your life. And the means of supporting your life is your work. But here the value of this second precept is called happiness. In other words, we have food, shelter, clothing, and health. We are happy. So if someone takes away this means, your means, they're also taking away your happiness. So it is wrong. So first value is life, second value is happiness. When people steal, they're taking away the source of our happiness. That's why it is wrong. So second precept, the Buddha reminds us, don't do this. Train yourself not to do this. If you have done this and ask yourself why, and then correct it. Alright? So that they are called training rules in that sense. Now what about the third precept? That third one is sexual misconduct. Okay, we have life, we have food, clothing, and all this support of life. The next thing is we must respect people. We must respect their body. In other words, don't violate them, don't mistreat them. And if you violate them, you have babies, who's going to take care of the baby, and the baby will later realize they have no proper parents. It's going to be a really messy society, very messy situation for the child. So, third precept means we respect the person's body. We don't violate the person and mess up the idea of family, for example. So the third precept means the right to say no. The woman can say no to the husband. Like Buddhism is very clear, Even the wife can say no to the husband, He can invoke the third precept. Alright? So it's not just a man's prerogative. The woman also is protected by this precept. Alright? So this is freedom. The third value is freedom. So can you see the very interesting logical sequence? What are of value to us? Number 1, most importantly, is life. Number 2, you must have the means to support life. Number 3, you must have the freedom to live. Freedom means the right to say no. Alright? Your body will not be violated by anyone. The precept. And the fourth precept, very easy to understand. The fourth precept is about truth. All these three things must be true. Otherwise, no point talking about them, right? So there you are. This is the rationale behind the four precepts. Clear enough, right? Alright? So then you may ask, what about the fifth precept that we recited? Not to take drinks and intoxicants. Well, if you take those things, you get drunk, you are likely to break all the precepts. That's the danger, you see. But there's something else. Drinking also causes you a lot of health problems. In fact, there's a whole section on drinking, so I won't talk anymore about this. We're going to go into that. Yeah? So these are the five precepts. Okay? So the Buddha said these are the four things you must practice, the first four of the five precepts. And then the Buddha summarizes with a verse. Those days people like to talk poetry style. So the Buddha summarizes section 4. He says, the harming of life, taking the not given, false speech, and going with the women of others, these, it is said, the wise praise not. Alright? So this is the first advice, very simple. The Buddha tells this here. Next, the Buddha goes deeper into the mental level, psychological level. What are the reasons we break precepts? Why do we do bad things? The Buddha says there are four reasons. Okay, look at them. Section 5. By which motives or grounds does he do no bad deeds? How do we avoid doing bad things? Number 1, he does no bad deed led by the bias of desire. So these are called the four biases. In other words, something that pushes to do something bad. Number 1 is desire. Number 2 is opposite of desire, hate. Number 3 is delusion, confusion. Number 4, you don't hear this very often, is fear. Fear. So these are the four things they must do bad things. Greed, hate, delusion, fear. Greed means what? You measure yourself against other people. Say, wow, this person got a lot of things I don't have. So you want those things. But you don't need those things. Right? Or you didn't work for them. So you should not have them. Right? You work for it, you get it. So there is a very important teaching in Buddhism which is called measuring. Right? To be a good Buddhist, we should never measure ourselves against other people. Everybody is different. Someone may have a big house, we have a small house. Say, wow, this guy got a big house, he must be happy. Not true. Big house, big problem. You have a small car, another guy got a big car. Say, wow, this big car must be a very rich guy. But he borrowed money, he got to pay. Right? So you cannot measure, is it? Right? So meaning is don't measure. So desire means you measure and then you see, oh, whenever you measure, you fall short. You say, how come I do that all this? And then you desire. Desire is something you want which you don't have and which is not yours. And if you cannot get it, then you get upset, you get angry. It's opposite. It's called hatred, evil, and so on. That is a second motivation, very bad motivation. The third one is you don't know what you're doing, very confused. Right? So that's why you got to study sutras. In study sutra, you get wisdom. You know what to do, what not to do. When you're suffering, you know why you're suffering. You minimize the suffering. When you're happy, you know why you're happy. You maximize the happiness, and you teach other people to be happy. You're not deluded. And then fear. You see, the first three, greed, hate, delusion, they are called the three roots of unwholesome action, three roots of bad action. As biases, you add number 4, fear. We often do things out of fear. People believe all kinds of religion, do all kinds of strange practices, superstition, out of fear. We should never use fear. In Buddhism, we never use fear to make them go to temple or practice Buddhism. Of course, fear does arise in us, but the Buddha teaches us how to overcome fear. One way is through loving kindness meditation, for example. Anyway, these are the 4 ways people do bad things. Through the greed, hate, delusion, or fear. So whenever someone does something wrong or someone comes to you with a problem, you can know it is always one of these four motives. One of the reasons is greed, hate, delusion, or fear. Of course, you don't have to tell the person, let's see, you have greed, hate, delusion, or fear. We won't know, you see. But when you listen, you more or less understand. But once you understand, then you are ready to help the person. So we're talking about Buddhist psychology here, And nowadays the psychologists are studying all the sutta we have, Can you imagine our cultural heritage are not being used by the psychologists of the West, and they are turning into a new science. You don't know that now meditation is a science, But they put wires on the head of all these monks, they start looking at all those screens, and they can measure, when you meditate, what happens to your brain and so on. So what we are studying here are really precious things, very modern. Okay, so these are the four motives. Then the Buddha summarizes everything again in the poem style. So, section 6, the Buddha says, whoever by desire, hate, fear, delusion transgresses the Dhamma, that means break the Dhamma, his fame wanes, he loses his fame, like the moon in the dark fortnight. Whoever by desire, hate, fear, delusion transgresses not the Dhamma, his fame waxes, that means grows, become more famous, like the moon in the bright fortnight. So here the Buddha uses a picture. Buddha says, if you practice all these good things, if you don't practice these good things, you practice a bad thing, then you're like the moon, getting darker, So you lose all your wealth, people don't respect you. But if you practice all these good things, then you grow like the moon, full and bright, right? So we are trying to live that kind of bright life. Okay, now we come to the last part of today's study. I know you're very excited about the last part, which is a very long last part. Okay, there's 6 ways of losing wealth. It's very interesting, very Singaporean. How not to lose your wealth. 6 ways. Actually, each of the ways have got 6 other ways. 6 times 6, 36 ways. Okay, let's look at number 7. That's the first one. How wealth is lost. What are the 6 ways of losing wealth to be avoided? Young house lord. Number 1, habitually taking strong drinks, distilled drinks, fermented drinks, which causes heedlessness, is a way of losing wealth. Did I notice the very first one? The very first one is about drinking already. Okay, and then number 2, habitually loitering in the streets at unseemly hours. Now we have a word for this in Malaysia, called lepak. We don't hear much about it in Singapore. We have no time for this. Number 3, frequenting fairs or shows. I think today we can also say watch too much TV, maybe, And then number 4, being addicted to gambling. There you are. Okay, gambling is mentioned. All right. A basis for heedlessness. That's how you lose wealth. Number 5, habitually associating with bad friends. Wrong company is also a way of losing wealth. Number 6, the habit of idleness, laziness. These are the 6 things to avoid if you don't want to lose your wealth. And then the Buddha explained each of these 6, right? Let's look at the first one, section 8. These, young house lord, are the 6 dangers from the addiction to strong drinks, and so on. How to avoid getting drunk. Why should we not drink? Number 1, there is immediate and visible loss of wealth. Drinks are expensive, you have to pay for them. Number 2, increase of quarrels. People when they are drunk, they are more brave, No, I never got drunk in my life. So I thought if you're drunk, in Singapore we say you go blur, you don't know what's going on, See, I was a monk long ago, so there was this young novice I was training. So I was explaining this. I said, if you're drunk and you don't know what's going on, and that's not very good. And then he's very quiet, soft-spoken guy. Suddenly he spoke up and said, no, Bhante, you know what's going on. Then my eyes opened bright. I said, you mean you've been drunk before? He said, yeah. He said, when you're drunk, you know what's going on, but you have more courage to do what you normally would not dare to do when you're not drunk. Okay, so imagine the danger that, right? Normally you are sober, you won't do those things, but when you're drunk, you talk nonsense, you will sing and so on, right? So there you are, you start quarreling with people, and then later you regret it. Next, number 3 is a source of disgrace. People, someone find out, let's say, number C is illness, right? All kinds of diseases. Now we know the cirrhosis of the liver, your liver can bleed, and then the brain also shrink, the kind of problems. And then number D, source of disgrace. Imagine if someone saw me drunk in the streets, they'll never come for Sutta study anymore. They're disgrace, right? And then E, indecent exposure of oneself. We're not aware of our clothing already when you're drunk. Very dangerous, very embarrassing. And then number F, it weakens one's intelligence. When you're drunk, you don't use your mind. That's why the 5th precept is very important. You keep your mind clear, easier to meditate. You meditate better, you grow wiser. So these are the 5 reasons for not getting drunk. So reflect on them, tell your friends if you like. 30 now. Section 9. Section 9. So the Buddha continues to tell this young man on the dangers of the 6 ways of losing wealth. Okay? So notice here, the Buddha is not talking about meditation, it's not talking about even the awakening, He's just teaching this young man how to keep his wealth. Right? So it's a very simple teaching in this sense. So it's very connected to us directly. So you tell your family, your friends, Buddhism is not about just meditation or even going to the temple. It's about getting rich also. The Singaporeans love to hear that. Right? Because once you are rich, you also must be happy. That's the next thing you got to tell them. Because happiness you cannot measure. There are 2 things in the world. One you can measure, that is wealth. That's something you cannot measure. Happiness. Is it true you cannot buy happiness? They may say, no, I can buy happiness. Wherever I go, I pay for my holidays. But then happiness is something else. I don't go for holiday, I'm also happy. In fact, for me, I've got no classes, I don't have to travel, I'm very happy. I do my translation work, and then I play with my cats. I occasionally go down, do a simple marketing with the family. I'm very happy with that. But then I get invitation to go to Malaysia. There's a group, wonderful Malaysian. About a few years ago, there were 20 of them. They all want to become stream winners in this life. They all lay people like you, They not vow, they aspire. They say, may I become stream winners in this life. In other words, take the first step. It's an aspiration. There are 20 of them. Then I went recently, now there are 30 of them. They want to practice what the Buddha teaches and this life attain that first stage. I will talk about this another time. So this is something interesting. So here, next thing the Buddha asks, section 9. So the dangers of roaming in the streets. A, can you see 9A? 9.2, and then look at A. Here, in other words, going out, wandering about in the streets now. He is himself without guard or protection. Okay? Sometimes we may say, wow, Singapore very safe. You can go anywhere at night. I think you have to be very careful what you mean by that. There was one saying, what is it? If no crime doesn't mean, low crime rate doesn't mean no crime. Right? Because you attract people when you go out there. There are lots of foreigners here also. There are also bad locals, bad foreigners, good locals, good foreigners. So we don't want to create the bad karma by going into the wrong places at the wrong time. There also is bad karma, wrong places at the wrong time. So this is the meaning here. B,
his wife and children are without guard or protection. Right? Those days, Buddha's time, very important for the parents to be home at night. The meaning here is parents and children got to interact when they're young. I used to teach those days, I say that parents, especially young parents, I say you got to spend the first 7 years with your child. You see, as parents, we give human body to the child, right? In other words, the child only gets the human body, human rebirth. That is the child's karma. This is called nature, karma. Then the next 7 years are very important. Next 7 years, we humanize the child. Because of the parents' closeness, hug the child, speak to the child, spend time with the child. We humanize the child. In other words, we are not born humans. Remember, we have a human body, but not humans yet. That's why those babies who are lost in the jungle, very young, born and then got lost, and they are taken care of by apes, they grow up to be Tarzan, ape man, right? Of course, Tarzan is a bit modern now. The real ape man is very different. Ape boys, they actually found such children. They behave like wolves. Whichever animals take care of them, they behave like that. And these scientists who got the children tried to humanize them. Impossible. Once they pass the 7 years, they are 12 years, cannot change them already. They are by nature animals already. So remember, this human body doesn't mean we are human enough. So if we like to kill, then we are like hell beings, hell, a lot of violence. You like to steal, you are like the asuras, always taking things. You like to take drugs, then you're like the pretas, always addicted. So you can become subhuman, you can sink in this life itself without changing your body, because all these are mental states. So in Buddhism we talk about mental quality of life. So when we drink, we bring ourselves down to the subhuman level. Not good. So karma very bad also. Imagine if you habitually drink and you habitually get drunk, that means what kind of life is that? Animal life if you like, You can think of any of the under subhuman realm if you like. Let's say animal behavior. So if you behave like that all the time, habitually rather, you have human body, but your behavior is animal-like, so you live on, and then your body run out date. The human body dies. But what kind of mind is left? Animal mind. So this animal mind will look for a new body. What kind of body would the mind look for? Look for an animal body. So that's how rebirth takes place. The kind of habits we have now will create this mind, and the mind will look for that kind of rebirth. So you can imagine the dangers of drinking in that sense. And then the next one, D, right, is liable to be suspected of wrong or of crimes, right? Can be implicated in something wrong. Will be the first to be suspected. And then E, he increasingly falls prey to false rumors. This is very bad. People tell bad stories about him. And then F, he is flooded by numerous troubles. A lot of troubles, right? Going out, roaming in the streets. Okay, so here imagine the Buddha telling this young man very simple advice. Notice he didn't tell this young man to meditate. Not yet. Okay, next, number 10. The Buddha says these young men are the dangers of frequenting fairs. So in other words, going out, going to the fairs. Then here the Buddha, so you ask, where is dancing? You want to look for all this pleasure. Where is singing? Where is music playing? Where is a talk show or storytelling show? This is what they have Buddha's time. Where is hand clapping? They clap hands. Even today, they clap hands, they sing songs. Very common cultural tradition. And then where is drum beating? Right? So all these are common Indian fun things. Imagine Buddha's time, no television, no cinema. So this is how they enjoy themselves. There is a special festival. It's called the Hilltop Festival. And this is something where a lot of people enjoy. There are a lot of swings. You see those Hindi movies, there are always swings. They'd be singing and dancing, and couples be running here, running there, you know. And so here comes along the famous pair, the most famous pair in Buddhism. You know who they are? Sariputta and Moggallana, the Buddha's two chief disciples. They are good friends, you know, from two close villages. Their families have known each other for 7 generations, very close friends. So they were really good friends since childhood. So they also rich kids. So one day they say, hey, let's go to this hilltop festival. Let's go to the fun fair. Okay? So they went to this festival. And then they say, wow, look at this, everyone's singing, dancing. This is wonderful, you know. So they go right in the middle of the festival, and then suddenly something very strange happens. It's like suddenly everything goes slow speed, you know. Everything sounds so far. Then Sariputta thought, so what am I doing here? All these people were singing and dancing. Look at them enjoying themselves. But don't they realize in less than 100 years they all will die? So this thought came to him, you know. You can imagine this kind of insight, you know. These young men, maybe they were like 16 to 18 years old, very young, you know. So suddenly they lost all interest, you know, in all these things. They feel so sad, so despondent, we say. It's like as if they say, is that all life has to offer us? We say, oh, this is really terrible, you know. So they became very sad, so they walk away. Then they did something very interesting. They make like a vow to each other. They say, you know, this is a time we must grow up. Even the best of friends must part. Let us go our way, because if we go two separate ways, we have a better chance to find a good teacher. We must find a good teacher. What's the meaning of life, right? So they went their separate ways. Now Sariputta met a very peaceful monk called Asaji. Asaji was the youngest of the 5 monks. This was probably early part, first 10 years of Buddha's life, Buddha's ministry. So this Asaji, he's a very humble monk. He doesn't want to teach, you know. He just awakened. So this Sariputta was a wanderer at that time, a wanderer like a hippie, you know, going around looking for teacher. So this Asaji said, this wanderers all like to talk a lot, ask all kind of questions, never listen. They didn't want to say anything, you know. But Sariputta was determined, because he's a very spiritually mature young man. He said, you must tell me, please tell me. He insisted. Finally, Sariputta said, okay lah. Asaji only mentioned 4 lines, no elaborate teaching, just 4 lines. So he said something like this. He says, of all the things that have a cause, the Buddha has taught the cause of these things. And the ending also has been taught by this great teacher. These are the 4 lines. But Sariputta hears the first 2 lines, at once he understood the meaning already. Of all the things, whatever arises in this world arises from causes, conditions. And all these causes the Buddha knows. Zap! Sariputta got it. He knew, wow, that's it. He became a stream winner right away. That means on the way to awakening. Okay, first step. This first step is, it looks just like anyone else, you know. King Bimbisara also was a stream winner. You are still a layman, you can still be a businessman, married man, no big deal. In other words, you are going to be a very good person, right? So Sariputta was like that. Then he realized, oh, this is not enough. I must know more. So that's why he decided to go and see the Buddha. Okay? So this is the story of one young man. Now before that, he went back to tell Moggallana the same thing. He told Moggallana, okay, this is what I heard. And then, interestingly also, when he mentioned the first 2 lines, Moggallana also got stream winning, just like him. And they both went to see the Buddha. And when they went to meet the Buddha, they became the Buddha's right-hand monk and left-hand monk. So all these are ripening of past karma. Alright? Okay, so I was talking about where's music, where's storytelling, hand clapping. Okay, so these are the things, right? On how Sariputta and Moggallana life changed when they went to all these shows and they realized this won't make them happy. Next one, 11. This is the fourth danger of losing wealth. So look at the underlying words. The 6 dangers from addiction to gambling. Okay, dangers from gambling. Somebody got to go and stand at the stands there and mention the 6 reasons why you should not go gambling. Number 1, when one wins, one begets hatred. If you win, people don't like you. Alright? They don't like you if you don't share your wealth. Because if you share your wealth, they like you. But then your wealth will be gone if you share too much. B, when one loses, one regrets one's loss. Right? We all think we will win, but mathematically, you know, the mathematician know you'll never win. Yeah? You might get one chance, but after that you won't get it again. C, there is immediate and visible loss of wealth. So when you go into a casino, you tell yourself you're going to lose that money. Alright? So you better be ready. D, one's words carries no weight in an assembly. Right? So you want money, you'll say anything. Very scary, you know. Right? Number E, one is looked down by friends and colleagues. No respect. Because you're a gambler, who's going to trust a gambler's words? F, one is not sought after for marriage. For how could a person addicted to gambling support a wife or a husband for that matter? Right? So there you are, these are 6 dangers of gambling. Right? And then number 12, the 6 dangers of bad friends. The bad company. Who are the bad company? A, the gamblers. Make sure you don't have friends who are gamblers. If you have, find excuse to get away from them unless they change. B, they are libertines. Libertines means playboys. Alright? Right? Womanize, manize, whatever. And then C, they're drunkards. Alright? They get drunk and so on. D, they are cheats, con men. Okay? No, con men to be very good, you know. I think all of us have been caught at least once in our lives. Yeah? They're really good. You know, you trust them. And then, you know, you feel very sad because they misuse your trust. But those are the cheats. And the swindlers, they actually cheat you, right? So you find especially old people living at home all alone, and then this person come and tell them stories, you know? And then the violent, oh God, these are very dangerous people. Violent. So these are the kinds of people to avoid, right? So stay together as Dharma friends, you're safer in that sense. And then influence others to be peaceful. You have this very nice fellowship. Next section, 13. Okay, this is the last one, right? Number 6. The dangers from idleness, laziness. I think this one, the Singapore government will love this. So don't be lazy, right? In fact, Singapore, you find this is something quite, industry is quite, hardworking is a normal thing. Okay, here, the person avoids work saying it is too cold. Avoids work saying it is too hot. Avoids work saying it is too late or too early. I'm too hungry, I'm too full, right? So 6 ways you can excuse yourself. Right? You know, sometimes people were joking, he says, oh, now I know how to cheat, you know, by the 6 ways. Huh? But that's not the what Sutta is about. You know, the Sutta is telling you these are the 6 ways you should not. So, in other words, even when it is hot, when it is cold, we still work. You know, our ancestors, they're not afraid of hot or cold. You know, come down south here, it's very hot, you know. Other ancestors went to North America, very cold. So they cover themselves. They're very poor, but somehow they managed to cover themselves from the cold. And they work in the open. And because of the Chinese in America, the transcontinental railway was completed on time. Without the Chinese, America wouldn't have that railway on time. Can you imagine? They were really hardworking. Okay, so there you are. Not hot, not cold. You're not bothered by that. Too early, too late, right? Well, you know, if you're young, you find you can work long hours. When I was younger days, like 10 over years ago, I can work up to 2 a.m., sometimes even 4 a.m. And then, of course, after I get to sleep. Now, by the time it's 12 o'clock, my cat will come to me already, meowing at me and say, hey, bedtime. I feel sleepy already. Because if I go beyond 12, my mind is not working well already. So we got to adjust. And that is not too late or too early. You know the right time. So in other words, you work, you maximize your time. In other words. Don't take excuse to. In fact, for me, getting up early in the morning is wonderful. Like for my best time, it'll be 5 o'clock in the morning, and because it's so quiet and peaceful, it's very nice to work with the suttas. Very peaceful. Too hungry, too full. Not here again. You just work. Sometimes if you're hungry, you continue to work. But of course, it's good to remember when to take your meals, right? So, important thing is, don't use these things for excuse for not working. All right, there you are. So the instructions are finished, and this part now is summarized with verses. Okay, we read these verses, then we finish our study. All right. Look at section 14. Everything is in summary, verses, poetry. There is the bottle friend. There is one who merely says, my friend, but who's a friend indeed when one's in need. A companion is he, a friend too. Sleeping late, consorting with the women of others, given to anger and lacking purpose, having a bad friend, a bad companion. These 6 things bring ruin to a person. The man with a bad friend, bad companion, bad in conduct, bad in resort means places you go to, comes to ruin in both worlds, in this world and in the next. In other words, future, so the karma will follow. Gambling and women, drinking, dance and song, sleeping by day, frolicking at unseemly times, bad friends and sharp stinginess. These 6 things ruin a person. Who delight in gambling, who take strong drinks, who go to women dear to life as others, associating with the morally low, not with the mature, they wane like the moon in the dark half. The drunkard without wealth, having nothing, who haunts bars, thirsting after drinks, will sink into debt like a stone in water, will quickly be without family and home, who habitually sleeps or dreams by day and hates rising in the night, in other words before dawn, ever drunk, drowned in drinks, is unfit to lead a household life, who then says, it's too cold, it's too hot, it's too late, so leaving his work undone. Opportunities slip by this man or these boys. Whoever regards cold and heat no more than he does a blade of grass, who does his work as a man should, his happiness will never fall away. And we finished our sutta already. First part, next section we talk about false friends and true friends. So this next session is very interesting. We'll do it another time. So, any questions here?
You can use this as a checklist to look for son-in-law or daughter-in-law also.
Yeah, you can use read Sigalovada Sutta. Are you like this?
They're not easy to get one.
Never mind, you tell her, come and see me first, advice. No, actually this is serious, because nowadays you find some of these marriages don't last. Right? So, you got to find out why. You got to help them also in a sense. We want their marriage to last. Finding partner is one thing. For this friendship in marriage to last is another thing. Yeah. So those who study Buddhism, usually it helps a lot because they learn not to measure each other, right? So in other words, we become like friends. When you're married, you have friends. Okay. Like to be honest with you, if I'm not married, very difficult for me to do sutta translation also. Right? So this is a merit effect. I think if I'm a monk, I'll be busy giving talks here, giving talks there. I mean, no time to do translation because this is what I want to do. You see? Right? And so Ratna is very helpful with this work. You know, in fact, I must say, without her, it's not possible to do all this translation work. You know, and she's also a very good proofreader, mind you. Right? So anything.
Suttas I learn very much. And as explained to me, I'm looking for a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, or your son looking for a girlfriend. Better use this to check.
Yeah, I mean, this is what it's all about. I mean, happy family life, right? You see, look, another one, since you have no question, let me show you a very short and very easy sutta about a family that lasts long. Look at page 11. Very simple, page 11. The discourse on a family that lasts long. The Buddha says, okay, first one, the family that fails. Whatsoever family bhikshus, notice it's teaching the monks this time, but it's talking about family. So here the word bhikshus means anyone listening to the Buddha. So it includes us, no? That have attained greatness of wealth. So in other words, his family become very rich. All of them cannot stand long for 4 reasons, or one or other of them. So in other words, you can be a rich family, but there are 4 reasons you can lose your wealth, or even one of the 4 reasons. Number 1, they do not look for what is lost. Number 2, they do not repair what is worn out. Number 3, they drink and eat excessively, too much. Number 4, they put authority and immoral woman or man, authority in the wrong hands. So these are 4 things. So on the positive side, the Buddha says all those families that have attained great wealth, they are successful because of 4 reasons. Very simple. Number 1, they look for what is lost. Here, what is lost, not necessarily just things, you know. Sometimes we lose relatives. We forget where they are. You know, my nephew, he is drawing a family tree. Well, our Tan family is quite big, you know, in Malacca. And the problem is compounded by the fact that my grandfather had 4 wives. You know? So you imagine, you got to look for the lines, you know, and take all the tons, you know, right? So, and he goes around and started, you know, mixing up and started knowing more and more of our families in different parts, and we discovered that some have migrated to Vancouver and so on. So it's good to look for lost relatives also, right? And then repair what is worn out, right? Sometimes some things, you know, in Singapore we need a lot of space. Sometimes maybe something, a chair is a little creaky, just tighten the screw, or maybe give it a little oil. It works already. So you don't clutter up the space where we throw rubbish or whatever. Repair what is worn out. And they do not drink or eat excessively, eat just enough. You know? Health is important. And then the last one is put authority in a virtuous person, authority in the right kind of person. I mean, our whole country is based on this idea, isn't it? So there you are. So you have 4 very simple advice. So this book gives you a very mundane, very practical, pragmatic idea of this one. Okay, so what we do now is there are 3 very important things. First is be happy before you dedicate marriage, and then whoever you're thinking of. Marriage normally, there are 2 things. One is to everyone here, we thank the host here, and then everybody here, we want you all to be well, happy. And then we also think of those who have passed away. Remember, we must think of the happy things about this person. He has passed away. Maybe this person is reborn somewhere already, so we don't know where. So they cannot receive a lot of things, right? But our loving kindness, if this person is a deva, I can sense it. Wow, very good, these relatives remember me. But if they're reborn as pretas, they're suffering beings, then they feel happy. Then once they feel happy, they will fall from that unhappy state, then they're reborn into a happy state. So you got to be happy when you dedicate marriage. Yeah? And then when you finish also, feel joyful, begin happy, middle happy, ending also. Yeah? Okay. Now, today, by a wonderful conjunction meeting of good conditions and karma, we are gathered here in this peaceful place, in this friendly atmosphere, to study the Buddha's teachings for our happiness in this life and the life to come. This alone is very good karma. We have kept all the 5 precepts during this time. We have not killed, we have not steal, we have not committed sexual misconduct, we have not lied, we have not been unmindful in any way. So by all these good deeds we have done, let us dedicate this merit to the benefit of everyone here. May they all be well and happy. And also to our loved ones who have passed on. You can think of some of your loved ones if you like, and picture them in your minds now and say, may you be well, may you be happy. By all these good deeds we have done, we dedicate them to you. By the power of the 3 jewels, by the power of all these good deeds, may wherever you are, if you are in suffering states, may your suffering be quickly uplifted. May you be reborn in happy states. If you are reborn in higher states, joyful states, heavenly states, may you rejoice in us, bless us also. So send out your loving kindness to all your loved ones who have passed on. And then to all beings, because ultimately all beings are also our relatives in this long journey. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.